Society sold you a lie. The lie is that you don't fit in. Something is wrong with you. You were taught that fitting in equals safety and standing out equals danger. When you feel off in a room, your nervous system doesn't say, "This environment isn't aligned with me." It says, "I am the problem." I used to think that feeling out of place meant I was socially awkward. It took me years to realize it was a signal, not a flaw. Here's what's actually happening. Feeling out of place isn't proof you're broken. It's proof your inner compass is working. And what you're experiencing right now isn't social failure. It's a signal that things need to change. Nietzsche had this concept that most people don't actually become themselves. They survive by blending in. He called it the herd, and the herd rewards sameness, shared values, shared fears, shared limits. You think the same thoughts, you laugh at the same jokes. You want the same things, and as long as you stay in formation, you feel safe. But the herd feels safe because it thinks for you. You don't have to question anything. You don't have to choose. You follow the pattern everyone else is following, and that pattern becomes your identity. Think about a family gathering. You show up, and suddenly you're playing an old version of yourself, the quiet one, the responsible one, the screw-up. Whatever it was 15 years ago, and people treat you like you haven't changed. You've changed, they say, but it sounds like an accusation. You feel smaller, you feel irritated, you want to leave, but you can't explain why. That's not social anxiety. That's not you being broken. That's what happens when you stop living like the herd. When you stop thinking the way everyone else thinks. When you stop wanting what everyone else wants, the comfort disappears, and your brain interprets that as danger. But it's not danger. It's separation from automatic living. Here's the key insight. Individualization feels lonely because you have to think for yourself. The herd was never asking you to grow. It was asking you to conform. And the moment you started becoming yourself, you stopped fitting the mold. So when you feel out of place at work, at home, in social settings, it's not because you failed to belong. It's because you've outgrown the script. You've outgrown the shared limits, and now you're in this weird in-between space where the old world doesn't fit anymore, but the new one hasn't formed yet. So if the herd isn't the problem, and you're not the problem, what's actually happening underneath? Here's what's going on. Your authentic self is rejecting the mask. Jung talked about this without calling it that. He said we all wear a persona, a social face we show the world, and for most of your life that persona worked. It got you approval, it kept you safe, it helped you navigate school, family, work, and relationships. But at some point, something shifts, and suddenly the mask doesn't fit anymore. The person you were pretending to be feels suffocating. The scripts you were following feel hollow. And that's when the out of place feeling shows up. Because here's the thing. Feeling out of place is what happens when your inner world updates faster than your outer world. You've changed internally, but your environment hasn't caught up. Your family still sees the old you. Your coworker still expects the old patterns. Your friends still want the version of you that made them comfortable. And you're standing here thinking, why does this feel so wrong? It's because you're trying to fit a new self into an old container, and it doesn't work. And this brings us to the existential part. Sartre said that this feeling, this anxiety of not fitting in, is actually the price of freedom. It's the realization that no external script exists anymore. There's no rule book telling you who to be. There's you, standing in a room, realizing that you're responsible for who you become now. You can't blame your parents anymore. You can't blame your job. You can't blame the culture. You have to own the fact that you're choosing this discomfort. You're choosing to be out of place because staying in place would mean betraying yourself. And that's the burden. The old comfort of conformity is gone. You gave it up the moment you started becoming yourself. So what do you actually do with this feeling when it shows up? Most people think the solution is find your people or be confident. And sure, that helps eventually, but that's not where you start. Because if you're still looking outside yourself for validation, you're still playing the same game. The real solution is this: locate yourself first. Here's how it works. It's a 60-second practice. You can do it anywhere, in a meeting, at a family dinner. Pause, just for a second. Take a slow breath in, and then stop. Listen to the silence before you take your next breath in. That silence is worth more than gold. The silence is what resets your brain before your next breath. Here's why this works. When you feel out of place, your attention goes outward. You start scanning faces, adjusting yourself to fit in the room, and that pulls you further away from yourself. It makes the anxiety worse because now you're trying to be what you think they want, and you have no idea what that is. But when you listen to the silence of the mind first, you bring your attention inward. You stop letting the external environment run your identity. You're not asking, do I belong here? You're starting with, I am here. And that shift, that tiny shift in attention, changes everything. Because belonging doesn't come from performance, it comes from presence. You stop needing the room to validate you. You're already here. So here's what you need to remember. Feeling out of place isn't a flaw. It's your inner compass working. You've outgrown the herd. You've stopped living on autopilot. You don't need to feel like you belong everywhere. You need to belong inside yourself first. If this resonated, comment one moment you felt out of place. Work, family, anywhere. You're not the only one.